Hey everyone, I hope you're having a really good day and making really good trades. I just want to start off by saying thank you for subscribing. Our channel is actually growing very quickly at a very surprising rate. I never thought I'd have 140 subscribers. It's actually really cool, and everyone seems to appreciate the advice I'm giving, and so everyone seems really happy and making really good gains. Anyways. This video is just going to be about how leverage trading works. I had a lot of people message me individually saying how does leverage work? What is leverage? Right? Okay, so let's just start off with the basics, right? So let's say we want to make a trade here, right? And our target was up here at 51,000. So let's just measure that. So if we were to enter here, enter a position here, and to ride it up to the top right here, this is our target. This would be an 8.3% move, or just like an 8% move to keep it simple, okay? And let's say now I were to enter that without leverage, I would just make the 8%, but I want to use leverage now, so I would go here, right? I would go to isolated, and then I would select how much leverage I'm using. So leverage is basically you're borrowing money to make a bigger trade. So let's say I want to do 10x leverage, right? So I selected 10x already, and then I would open a long. And if I open a long here with 10x leverage, the 8% gain now becomes 80%, right? Because you borrowed 10 times as much money, technically speaking, right? It's just like margin. You're trading on margin. So this is essentially how leverage works. So the more leverage you use, the more money you borrow to make the bigger trade. But technically, leverage on this, like on ByBit, is you just make more gains. So 25 leverage, So let's say it was a 10% move, a 10% move all the way up here. If you use 25 leverage instead of just making it 10%, so 10 times 25, you would make 250% in this trade. That's really good, And then you can use up to 100 leverage. So if every time it moves 1%, you can make 100% return, right? So let's say it was to go to, let's say it goes up 5%, and you're using 100 leverage. You could make up to 500% return in one trade. Okay? Now, here is the problem with leverage, right? It's not only you can't just only win with leverage. There are negatives, right? So let's say you're now using 10 leverage, right? Okay, so now you've borrowed 10 times the amount of money. You enter a leverage trade for 10 times. If it goes down 10%, you lose everything. You get it's called liquidated. You get liquidated. Your principal amount that you put in, right? So let's say I only have $100. I use $100 to put into this trade, and I use 10x leverage. That means I'm borrowing $1,000, but it goes down 10%. I lose my trade on ByBit. ByBit will liquidate you and take your principal, right? Because your trade did not go in your direction. It didn't go the way that you wanted, right? So as long as it goes your way, it's fine. The more leverage you use, the closer your liquidation is. So if you use 25 leverage, the market only needs to go down 4% for you to get liquidated. If you use 100 leverage, the market only needs to go down, or the opposite direction of your trade, depending if you're long or shorting. It only needs to go down 1% for you to lose your entire principal. And in a asset like Bitcoin, volatility is extremely high. So when you see all these YouTubers using 30 leverage, 50 leverage, if you enter a position here with 50 leverage and it goes down 2%, you will lose your entire principal. And it's very easily, it happens all the time that the market goes down 2% in a very rapid amount of time. Look at this. People who entered trades here, right here, and wrote it up here with 50 leverage, they'd be up 150%. But then if they never closed their trades and they held on and they held on and they held on with 50 leverage, the market would have gone down only 2% right here, and then they would have been liquidated. Okay, so that is essentially how leverage trading works. It's pretty straightforward. It's not very hard to understand, and it basically works both ways. So if you open a short, if it starts to go down, you're making more money with leverage. But if it starts to go the opposite direction, then you're going to get liquidated, or you're going to sustain some more losses with the stop losses that you use. So stop losses work, right? So let's say we enter a trade here, right? Excuse me. And then you put a stop loss at 25%, right? So you can put a stop loss. I don't really want to enter a trade right now. Actually, maybe we can enter like a 20. Like, let's just put a limit order for a very small amount. How do you select USD here? So actually, no, I'll just show you right here. So you can take profits, right? You can start to take profits. If your trade is up 25%, you can set take profits. Take profit at 50%, 75, up to 150%. And same thing goes for stop loss, right? It stops you out ahead of liquidation, right? So I always use a stop loss. I like to use around 20 to 15% stop loss, right? So the 15% isn't available here. You kind of have to do your own math to see where your stop loss is. Or you could set a 25% stop loss, which, on higher leverage, like I say I was using 10 to 15 leverage, then I would set a higher stop loss, right? So that's basically how leverage trading works with stop losses and stuff like that. I think someone asked me what funding fees are. All right. Okay. So funding fees. So you can see this countdown clock right here, right? 7 hours, 53 minutes, and 10 seconds. Now the funding fee rate, the rate is 0.0375%. Now this rate changes every 8 hours. It's always at a different rate. Now if you enter a trade, right, and you're holding it more than 8 hours, at the 8 hour mark that you're holding it, it's going to charge you a fee for holding that leverage position, because you can't borrow all this money with no penalty, right? So the longer you hold these leverage positions, you're going to keep sustaining funding fees. So you're just going to keep incurring expenses as long as you hold these trades. If these trades are with like higher leverage, you're going to pay more and more funding fees. It's going to get very expensive. But the more leverage, right, the more returns you'll get if the asset performs even more. If the returns outweigh the cost, then it might be worth it to hold a leverage position for a long time. I know that on the YouTube channel Crypto, he has very amazing entry positions with high leverage, right? So he entered in around $9,000, and he's probably using like 25 leverage or something. So at these prices, he's up a crazy percentage. He's up millions of dollars on his trade, right? And he's getting charged ridiculous funding fees rates. Like he's getting charged so much, but he's up so much that it's actually worth it to hold that position, right? Even throughout these dips and these dips, he was still holding on to those positions, and he still is now, because he's just making amazing returns. So it's totally worth it if you get an amazing entry point. But at these prices, I would not hold on too long to these leverage trades. Oh yeah, by the way, everyone's talking about this head and shoulders pattern right here. So if we do break this pattern on the downside, then we could be looking at targets of like 30,000, 33,000. I don't know if it's going to do that. I think the weekly the weekly 21 EMA is probably going to be able to hold, and we might see a reversal because we've had a significant move down, and now we're starting to consolidate around this area, and I think we might be ready to start breaking out to the upside again, but we'll see. I don't like to make predictions, because if they're wrong, then people are just like, you don't know what you're talking about. But anyways, this is basically how leverage trading works. If you have more questions, you could just put them in the comments, and then I'll answer them as soon as I can. Okay, guys? Anyways, thanks for subscribing. If you want to sign up for ByBit, I put my link in the description. You can help out the channel by doing that. I'll talk to you later. Peace.